Alright, today I'm going to show you how to fix the adjustment handles on the Toro TimeMaster. I have replaced these before and just broken another one. So as you can see, this is supposed to have a little tab here so that way you can adjust it from size to size. So I'm going to take you through replacing this one for the front wheels. I know last time when I did it, I replaced this one because it got broke. Somehow something hit it or something like that and they just snapped. So let me get all my stuff together to replace it, and then I'll show you what I'm going to use to get everything apart and fix these. Alright, here are the tools I'm going to use to tackle the front. It's very simple. You need a 9/16 inch socket. You need a 1/2 inch socket. You need a new piece, a new adjustment piece, and you can get this from your dealer or off the internet. I'll see if I can find a link to it and maybe you can buy it online. Might be a little bit cheaper. And I saved the old one so I can salvage this little rubber piece or plasticky piece off of it, because grabbing onto this with your bare hands and trying to adjust it, it's not super comfortable. What I did with this one is I sprayed it with some of the rubberized coating stuff, and so it works okay, but it's not perfect. But since I still have this one, I'm gonna reuse it, and you can see this is where it snapped. It is supposed to go just like that, and it is no longer there. So we're going to go ahead and replace this, and it's very simple. You can use a small impact, or you can use a ratchet. It's not a big deal, but all you have to do is put the 9/16 inch socket for this bolt or this nut. Take that off. Don't lose that. Pull the wheel off, and then you'll be switching out your socket to the 1/2 inch one for this bolt. So just take this off of there. Now this might move. I have this up on a jack stand, but this might move because this is the only thing holding. The whole assembly might move because this is the only thing holding it up to here still. So let's see what it does. Okay, so basically all it did was this whole shaft moved inward. So take the old one apart. Here's the nut. And let me set this down, and we will switch over the little rubber piece. Alright, here it is. I just said to use a little flathead piece to get it off, but that should be fine. We're going to take it on the new one, and yours will probably slide on a little bit easier, but like I said, I put this rubberized coating on this one, so I'm going to have to press this one in. Alright, there you go. It still fits. So what we're going to do is I'm going to need 2 hands for this one. But we're going to put the piece back on there, and it actually goes like this. Actually goes like this. It's going to be a little bit of a snug fit. So it looks like I had it set to the C. They used to go by letters. I had it set to the C setting, and it looks like when it came off, it went down to the B setting, or went up technically, and that's where the whole alignment is in here. Let's see. So as you can see, putting it back on, the whole alignment is here, so you're going to have to put it in there. If you try to put it over here at C or D, it's not going to work. So go ahead and click this together. We can go from there. So we'll put that in there. If you're using an impact, pre-thread your bolt, and then use that to snug it down. I'm going to switch back over, put our wheel back on. Thread the nut. Okay. So now that that's all taken care of, let's see if we can get you the right angle. So now you can just take it. We'll do it this way without knocking it off the jack. So you can switch your settings just fine. Okay. So it's all fixed. I guess that's the way it should look factory, the angle. And then next we'll show you the back one. This one's not broke, but I'll go ahead and show you how to replace it anyways while we're doing the front one, just in case. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and replace this rear one in case you broke that one as well, or that one on by itself. So what I have is the mower propped up on here, and on a jack stand, and then we're going to go ahead and take the wheel off. And this back wheel is a little bit different than the front wheel, so I'll show you that process, and we can do that. Alright, so you're going to take your 9/16 socket, take that off. Then when you take this wheel off, there are mechanisms back here. So there's a gear for it driving the mower. Since this is rear-wheel drive, you pull this plate off, but there's a little washer here, so don't lose that. And remember, it goes on the front side. Pull off this little plate, set it down, keep that together. And so as you can see, what we're going to have to do here is we're going to have to take this bolt off and this bolt off if you've broken the whole thing. So this bolt is a 1/2 inch, and then we'll have to get another socket for that one. Let's see what size that is. Alright, so the top one is a 3/8 inch socket. I'll take this, that fits there. So let's go ahead and take this off. I'm going to need to use 2 hands for this, so we'll set the camera down and we'll show you taking it off. Alright, so we're going to so we're going to take our 1/2 inch, we're going to put it on this lower bolt. We will take that off. And then we'll take our 3/8 inch socket. We'll take that off. So let's show you this. What you're going to have to do is, this is a pin, some kind of release pin that holds this gear on. So you're going to have to pull the pin, pull the gear off, and then pull this mechanism off, and this thing's going to come off as one. So let me get the tools to take this off and then we'll go ahead and take this whole piece off, and then you'll be able to switch it out. Alright, so I'm going to use a pair of needle nose to grab it, and then a pair of pliers to pull it up, and we're going to pull up the tab. Okay, so there we go. Got it off. It's a little bit difficult. It helps if you're needle nose pliers. They have the same tip. These ones I grabbed just happen to be broke. So let's go through this. I'm going to take this off, and then you have a snap ring here, so we're going to go ahead and get the snap ring pliers and take this off, and then we'll go through it the rest of the way. So I got my snap ring pliers. These are made by Channel Lock, and they're adjustable, and they have different size pieces, so you only have to have technically one pair of pliers, and you can adjust these out. So I had to put some smaller ones in there, and let's see if it'll focus. Yeah, so small tipped ones in there, and we got the snap ring off. So basically it sits up in there, but you could probably get this off with a pair of pliers. I mean, not a pair of pliers. Well, you probably need a pair of pliers, and you would need a flathead screwdriver, and it just makes it easier with some snap ring pliers, and they're not really that expensive, because if you break this or lose this, you are going to have to go to your dealer and custom order it, because it's not likely that you'll find one in the store. So we took that off, and we took this little washer off, and then we're gonna have to pull this whole block assembly out. I'm gonna go ahead and do that off camera, because this is gonna be really stiff to get off. Alright, so I took a big old flathead, and let me see if I can get you over here. And I stuck it behind there and pried it out, so this thing is like pressed in there, and as you can see, probably would have been easier if I set the whole back of the mower up off of the ground. Can I get this back in there? You can see it because this piece slides into here. So what I'm going to do is put another jack stand on the other side, get that thing jacked up, and we'll go from there. Alright, so if you want to make this piece easier to come off, there are two springs up in here that you need to take off. There's one spring that attaches here, and then it attaches up top up there. Let's see if I can get my hand up in there. Well, it's this one right here. So it attaches up there, right on that piece, and then it attaches right there in that hole. And then there's another one that is this one, and it attaches right here. You pull that off, and then it relieves the tension on the shaft, and you can go ahead and take off this piece, a little bit rusty. And then you'll take this off, and you will take this piece off, this little rubber piece, to salvage it and replace it with your new one, and then you will put it back together. It goes on like this, and so we'll go through the process of putting it back together. Alright, so once you get the pieces off, I had some trouble getting it to go back together, and what happened was this shaft here had moved its way back inward that way, so I didn't have enough room out here to get everything back on that I needed to. So basically what happened was I went underneath, and the little transmission piece box had shifted over, and so I had to move that back around to the correct spot. So that's why you need to take off the springs underneath. There's two of them, so you take those off to loosen the transmission on the loosen the tension on the transmission, and then that allows it to the whole axle to move more freely. So I readjusted it to put the whole back of the thing off, and I took this other wheel off, and that's how I realized that this was off. This that was sticking way out. You don't have to do that, but I just wanted to make sure there was nothing wrong in there. But if you want to, you can go ahead and take it off. It's not a big deal because we're not removing any of that. But yeah, so just make sure everything is adjusted underneath. If you take off the spring and all that stuff initially, and I would say put the mower on jacks like this to keep it level, and you shouldn't have that issue. But I had to figure that out the hard way. So we're going to go through putting it back together now. Alright, so let's go through putting this back together. You're going to take your piece here. It's going to go like this. And if you want, you can take this piece that we took the bolt out of, the screw out of, and put that back in there. That way you won't have to worry about it later. So let's do that real quick. We're going to take this piece and this piece and put those back together. Slide it on to the shaft, pick up the axle, slide everything through as is, and then we're going to put our bolt back in, and then we're going to take our impact, and pull everything back together. So once we do that, you may have to wiggle the axle around again. So basically what I did is I stuck my hand under here. I'm grabbing the transmission, which is connected to everything, and so basically it was, set back like this. Your goal is to slide it all the way out, because your snap ring has to snap on right there. So you get that situated, and you put your washer back on. You're going to take your snap ring with your snap ring pliers. So just taking the time to make sure it gets seated properly in its little groove. That way it doesn't come off and you have to take everything back apart. So after that, we can put our gear back on, and then we're going to put our little pin back in. Alright, so I had to do some bending on this clip. The tension on it, or the elasticity, or whatever you want to call it, is not also great. So once we put it back in, we want it to stay locked in. That way we don't have to come back in here and fix anything. So that should be fine. It's not coming off of there. And as you can see, you can adjust everything just fine. So we're going to take our plate, slide it on there, put our washer back on, put our wheel back on, and it will line up. Okay, so you're going to take your screw, or your nut, thread it back on. Snug it down. We're going to go to the other side. Do the same thing. Put your plate on. And your washer. And your wheel. And you'll feel it when it snugs up to the gear. Alright, so we've attached that one. So all you have left to do is go under to the underside of the mower and reattach the springs. So I'm going to adjust the mower so I can show you how to reattach those springs. Alright, so the two springs you have to remove are this one, and see if I can get you a good view. It attaches right here, and then it comes down to this hole here. So we'll reattach that one, and you have this big one here. See if it'll focus in on that spring. Basically that spring pulls right onto here and tensions everything back down. So we use and if you take these springs off, just make sure your belt under here for your transmission drive is back on the pulleys before you tighten it back up, or you're going to get your mower back together and it's not going to drive anywhere. It does have a lot of tension, and so we'll lock down on this bottom one. So what I did there was set the wheels to the A adjustment, which moved this lever here a little bit closer inward, so this one won't be as difficult to lock onto and reattach. So again, when you're going to take everything off, you're going to take this spring off, and you're going to take this spring off, and it hooks in right there on that piece, because that one will probably fall off, and that one hasn't never fallen off for me, but it goes right back on there. So as you can see, basically what happened under here was the transmission slid this way, since I had the mower cocked up at an angle, and so this slid this way and got behind this bracket here, and it wouldn't go back that way. So I just had to move it. It was no big deal. Just trying to get a good angle for the video, but that happened to make it worse. But we're all back together, and you should be good to go on your lever adjustments.
Okay, so that's how you replace the height adjustment handles on the Toro TimeMaster 30-inch front and rear. If you like this video, like it, subscribe, and I'll have more videos on the Toro TimeMaster as time goes on. Thanks for watching.